You know, a lot of people who are new to photography feel that it's really complicated, that it's overwhelming. It just seems like it's so much to grasp, you know, where it comes to lighting and where it comes to exposure and what lens to use, what camera to use over another camera. All of those things that you have to learn, it can definitely be overwhelming, but the thing is, you don't have to learn all those things in one big chunk. As a matter of fact, I think you should learn these things in steps, okay? One thing at a time. You know, like when it comes to lighting, I always say just start with one light. Start with one light, learn what you can do with it, because everything is based off of that one key light. That's the light that defines the entire look of the subject. It creates the definitive shadow patterns on your subject, and the other lights just add to that. You know, you've got your fill light, you've got your hair light, you've got background lights. But people are always wanting to start off with big lighting kits because that's what they see other people using, and they figure, hey, if I just buy this big lighting kit, then I've got a lot to work with and I can start learning that way. But I always suggest to start with the one light and then build up from there, because when you get a lighting kit, you're buying into something, you're buying into a system that you don't even know if you're going to make any use of. You know, with cameras and lenses, it's the same thing. Just all you need is a camera body and a basic lens. This is a 50mm lens, and it's the lens that I use most often. Learn how to use that lens. Push it to its limits, see what it can do, and see what it can't do. And when you get to a point where you are able to do everything that you can do with that lens and create amazing pictures with that lens, and then you realize, you know what, I can do something else with a telephoto lens, like a 70 to 200mm lens, or maybe an 85mm lens. You get to the point where you say, you know, it's time to experiment. I know what I can do with this lens, but I have a feeling that I can do something new, something different, maybe expand my skill set, expand the things that I'm able to do with another lens. You might say, I need a wide-angle lens. And if you get to that point, then get a wide-angle lens. Now, with most of these cameras, you can buy a bundle that comes with a kit lens. So that's a zoom lens that gives you that wide to normal field of view. And so you may not even need to invest in a prime 50mm lens right off the bat. Just learn what you can do with the lens that came with your camera. Now, if you're a beginner, you'll probably start off in an automatic mode, like P mode. Well, do that, see what you can do with that, and then start getting into some of the other exposure modes, like aperture priority. Learn all about aperture priority mode, learn what it does, learn what it can't do, learn how it holds you back, then get into shutter priority mode. And then at some point you need to experiment with manual mode, and you need to learn about the exposure triangle, how aperture, shutter speed, and ISO interrelate, how they all work together to create an exposure, the exposure that you're looking for. And you know, these cameras have so many features on them. There's so many things that you can do, so many things that you can set up with these DSLRs. I got to tell you, most of the stuff that these cameras offer, I don't even use. There's a lot of custom settings that you can do with these cameras and a lot of special options and features. I usually set things up and then forget it. It's just set and forget, and I will use only the controls and features and options that I'll need, and they'll pretty much be just a handful of things that I'll ever adjust on these cameras once I initially set them up. So when you're trying to learn this stuff, the strategy is the same for cameras, lighting, whatever it is that you're trying to learn. Pick one basic concept or skill, learn it inside and out, learn it well enough that you could actually teach it to someone else, and then move on to the next thing. Don't overwhelm yourself by thinking that you've got to learn everything in one day, because it will be overwhelming. You'll get frustrated. You'll learn part of something, but you'll have this gap in your knowledge that's going to hold you back for a lot longer than if you had just taken this stuff in steps. And another thing I suggest is to just keep your kit simple. Don't go out and buy a whole bunch of lenses and lighting and all sorts of gear that you don't really know how to use and you're not necessarily ever going to use. Just stick with some basic, simple gear. Again, push it to its limits. Use it over and over and over again until you just really just master how to use those pieces of kit. If you keep your kit limited, you'll be forced to use the same gear over and over again, and just by doing that, you'll eventually master that gear. You won't just be good at something, you'll know inside and out how to use it, what it can do, and how to get the best results every time. I want to thank you for hanging out with me today. Thanks for watching today's video. If you liked it, go ahead and click that like button. If you haven't already, go ahead and click subscribe. That's about all I got for you today. See you next time.